Mic test, test. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Just checking whether the online audience can hear me. Yeah, very good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our last seminar of this year. Today of this year, we are honored to invite the team from the Empowered Families Initiative, Adriana, Pravindran, and Anna, to share about their pilot impact evaluation. The EFI is the champion of the inaugural Dreams Asia Breakthrough Poverty Prize and is also featured on the OECD Observatory of Public Sector Innovation as a case study. We also have Dr. Ong EeCheng from the Department of Economics who will be moderating today's Q&A session. So before I hand over to the speakers, I'll just go through a few quick announcements. First, we are recording this seminar on Zoom, and there will also be photo taking at this venue. So your participation in this seminar indicates your consent to these. For the Q&A session later, we will allow questions in 2 formats. So for everybody, online or on-site, you may submit your questions using the Poll Everywhere link. You can scan the QR code. We will show this again later. And you can also vote for your questions as the questions come in later. Alternatively, for everyone here at this venue, you may also ask your questions directly at either of the mic stands. So please introduce yourself before asking your question. Okay. SSR will also be conducting a few training programs in January 2024. So we have our research skills 13-week mentoring program, and we also have our one-day effective use of theory of change workshop conducted on the 18th of January. So if you would like to find out more information about our upcoming training programs, please scan the QR code to find out more. And as we wrap up our seminars this year, we will also be launching our annual feedback exercise from tomorrow for 2 weeks. So everybody who is on our mailing list will receive the link to our survey, and we'll greatly appreciate if you could spend some time to just give some feedback to our seminars and other activities so that we can improve and better serve you in the future. So yeah, without further ado, I'll hand over my time to Adriana and her team to start the presentation. Thank you.
I'll share this. Apologies for the technical difficulties. Yeah. Yeah, I think you have to. Yeah. Yes.
You're just gonna wing it. So I think before we start, we just want to thank everyone for your time, for coming here and spending the next 2 hours, right? I wanted to say half an hour, but it's not that short. Still about 2 hours. So we are really excited, and I think we really believe in what Empowered Families Initiative has to offer and has contributed as well to benefit not just the families, to benefit us as individual social workers, practitioners, but also in the future benefit the sector as well. So amongst us are also families who have been part of the EFI journey, and who will be also joining us to share a bit. So later on, you'll hear from Anna. We are very privileged and honored to have her here to lend a voice to all the EFI participants, members. But there are also other members in the midst. So Arifa, Syed are also members. So if you have any questions for the members directly, you can also approach them. Can, right? Okay, very good. Yeah. So trying to stall here for time. Don't know what else to say. I don't know whether we should move to Q&A first. Okay. How's everyone feeling? Yeah? Good. Good. Stand up comedy. I heard stand up. I don't have any jokes to say though. What do you call a mouse with two legs? Mickey Mouse, yeah, very good. Duck with two legs. Donald Duck, someone said no, wrong. All ducks got two legs. Oh my god, running out of jokes. Come on, save me.
We
can start. Okay, cool.
Thank you, everyone, so for your patience. Okay, so let me start. Okay, so we are the Empowered Families Initiative. I have to be here because I also have to be on the Zoom. So I hope you can forgive me that I'm behind the podium, you can't see me. I'm Adriana, co-founder of Empowered Families Initiative, together with Pelvindran and Anna. So one of our group members, one of our co-founders, Sonia, is not able to be here today because she's sick, she's unwell. But we also convey what she wants to say to during this presentation today. So we are actually very excited to share because I think ever since the breakthrough competition, which ended in May 2023, we've got a lot of questions from a lot of people. That the requests were quite overwhelming, so we thought we'll have a sharing the sector. So this is actually the first time we are launching or sharing about our initiative to the sector officially. Yes, okay. So maybe before I start, today we'll be going through more of like the impact evaluation from the pilot that we've done to families as part of the breakthrough competition. So maybe let me just go through a bit of the context of why we came up with Empowered Families Initiative. The context, so I'll give you a caveat. So this was when we started Empowered Families Initiative in October 2022, and a lot has changed since then. But at that point in time, the question that the team had, was that why is it that in spite of numerous programs and initiatives, we still struggle to enable families out of poverty? And we do have our own hypotheses for that. We think that a lot of the assistance in the sector is a lot of it is premised on just basic needs. And when you focus on basic needs, you help families only survive but not thrive beyond their aspiration, beyond the basic needs and towards their aspirations. Sometimes the initiatives or programs can be transactional and typically takes on a programmatic one-size-fits-all for everyone, rather than being catered or tailored to the unique circumstances of the families. So this is another hypothesis. And another one is also about how do families actually access social assistance, right? They need to actually show what are their needs, right? Show actually the more needy you are, the more likely it is you're able to unlock assistance. But that framing can be quite, we need to be careful, because what kind of narrative does it actually reinforce? Yeah, so that's something for us to think about. But caveat, a lot of things are changing. The sector is shifting, but we can talk more about it in the Q&A later. But this was when we started with EFI. So Empower Families Initiative, of course, we need to give credit. Actually, we were very inspired by this book called The Alternative by Mauricio Miller, which I think a lot of you are quite familiar with. So Mauricio Miller is the founder of Families Independence Initiative based in US, where he actually provides resources and opportunities to families so they can actually pick and choose the opportunities based on what they think is fit for their own circumstances, come up with goals and actually group together to journey together to progress towards their goals. So it's a very hands-off approach where practitioners take a back seat and families actually drive the change and drive the progress with each other together. So you should give this a read if you haven't. This was I think the work that has inspired a lot of our work. And what we did was to adapt it to the local context, but it's a bit more palatable for local context as well. So before we actually came up with the pilot, together with the co-founders, Pel and Sonia, we were thinking about if we were to reimagine the sector, what would we want the sector to look like, right? So we look at things very macro. Can we actually move from a helping model to a dignified developmental model of working with low-income families? We want for it to be based on a new social contract between families and also practitioners, premised on trust and also the autonomy of families to choose resources as they deem fit. And families are also seen as equal partners and people with assets and potential. So assets and potential becomes the starting premise rather than just needs. So we leverage and harness the assets of families to also improve their quality of life. So we start with what's strong instead of what's wrong, and how can we leverage and strengthen that the families can use it to be able to improve their lives. And we invest in the families' plans and goals that are also customized to their unique circumstances. So we don't want a cookie cutter, we want it to be tailored according to the unique circumstances that families have. And when we invest in the families' plans and goals, we invest in their potential. And we actually want to be able to enable the families' confidence and also having agency to exercise option. And when they achieve milestones related to their goals, they can be a bit more confident and they can be a bit more enabled. And we hope that this can form the catalyst to build the foundation to spur families to continue achieving their long-term goals. So we want to have and we only don't want to change how we work, change the initiative. We also want to create a sector-wide systems change where we don't only look at the families, we also look at ourselves as practitioners. What are the mindsets that we need to shift as practitioners to build capacity towards implementing all these principles toward low-income families? How can we share power with families so that we see them also as equal partners along this journey? Yeah, so based on the breakthrough competition, we actually had $25,000 unrestricted funding to design the pilot. So based on the reimagining of what we want the sector to be, we came up with a small pilot that can encapsulate and also illustrate the principles that we wish to see in the sector. So we came up with Empowered Families Initiative. It's a developmental initiative that aims to invest in the plans of low-income families to improve their life circumstances towards a better socioeconomic position. Yeah. So what does EFI look like? What is it about and what do we do? So it has a three-pronged approach in EFI. First is the access grant that we hope can unlock the family's potential. So what can the families do with this access grant is that they have the autonomy to utilize the grant for anything related to their goals and aspirations pertaining to increasing their income generation or home-based businesses or their career progression as well as upskilling. So that's the first prong. The second prong is we believe also in asset building. We believe that one challenge that families face is that the lack of a financial buffer to be able to work on other goals or even to tide through very difficult times. So this is lacking. So this is something that we also include in EFI. So families are able to tap on access funds to save each month, and these savings will actually be matched 1:2. So if the family save $100 for that month, and then we'll match 2 times $200 for that month, which is about $300 per month. So this whole EFI each iteration takes a period of 6 months. So after 6 months, the matching could go up to about $1,200 for the 6 months. And I think most importantly is also the peer support network. So the families on board EFI, they are also part of a network where families meet regularly to share about their progress, to encourage each other and also to support one another about their goals and achievements. So these peer support networks also act as a platform to learn and help each other collaboratively. And families also are accountable to one another and they nudge each other for the goals that they actually have set for themselves. So what are some of the criteria for being on EFI? So maybe this is also some of the question that was surfaced to us. The per capita income. So we took the reference from the SSO, the per capita income no more than $800 and or lives in a public rental housing. But yet again, this is not a hard and fast rule. Again, this is a case by case basis. We'll have conversations with families to ascertain whether like this person really wants to work on their goals. So another criteria is about high readiness to work on your goals. Family has shown consistently that they are ready and they are committed to improving themselves in the family circumstances. Another criteria is about clear and concrete goals. It doesn't have to be very smart in the sense, concrete in the sense of like smart goals, but I think they have a very good idea of what they want to work on for the next 6 months or even long-term plans to improve their lives. And again, the next one is commitment. So part of the criteria of being on EFI is that the families must be willing to commit to share their plans in the group meetings and commit to at least 75% of the total monthly meetups. So families will actually meet monthly for this. Yeah, so the first criteria is really not a hard and fast rule. It's really based on a case by case basis. And even families who are moving out rental flat in the transition period are also considered to be part of EFI. So maybe you have some ideas, maybe you have some questions about, what are the profile of the families on EFI. So as you can see, that's the profile and the bottom part is actually the goals. I won't read out everything, but as you can see, what we wanted for our pilot is to learn. And so we have a diverse profile of families. We have single parent households, we have households with with children, people who live in rental flat, families who live in rental flat, families who are also transiting out of the rental flat and moving to a purchase flat, families who are also already have bought their own house, but they recently just moved into their own house. So it's a lot of combination of factors because we want to diversify the profile. We also want to try to learn across these various profiles. So we hope that we can elicit different learnings from the various profiles. And these are some of the goals that the families have. Most of them actually have home-based businesses that they feel that the grant can actually be useful because it can help to supplement, it can help to boost their businesses and earn an extra income from that capital that they get, that they use. They use the grant as part of the capital for the home-based business. And one of the goals is also to stabilize transition to new purchase home. Because for families, transiting into a new house, a purchase house is a lot of money. You need a lot of money and you need to stabilize the transition. And this is actually the goal that one of the families wanted to work on. Yeah, and again, so these 3 families also want to increase sales for home-based business, and one of it also increase sales for home-based business and also eventually work towards a full-time job. So the home-based business becomes a means for the family to eventually get a full-time job. So again, the pathways are very varied for different families. It's really fit to their own circumstances. They think that is the best way for them to improve their lives and move forward to earn a better income or to improve their quality of lives. Okay, so we asked what are some of the examples of the grant that how has the families used the grant? So some of them use for license to get a bike license because so this family that we had, this individual wanted to increase his sales for delivery. So he's a gig worker and he's currently on like an e-bike. And when he's on e-bike, there's a lot of limitations because he can't get a lot of orders because the distance is very limited. So he feels that by taking a bike license and saving up for a bike, eventually he's able to cover more distance and increase his income from food delivery by being on a bike instead of being on a bicycle. Some family who's doing home-based business also go for baking classes because they think that it's able to improve their quality of products and then eventually increase their potentiality to get more sales. And some also use the grant, the capital, to rent booths to increase the visibility of their home-based business to people so that they can also increase the sales. So how the families use the grants is very varied. So it's really very specific to what they think is good for their plans, good for their own plans to increase their income. So now actually I will hand it over to Pel, who will go through about our theory of change, and eventually Anna will also share about her experience.
Thank you. So before I go through the theory of change, right, just want to bring it back to the context. What's the context, right? Families, low-income families. Do we believe that low-income families have aspirations? In the 7 families that journeyed through the pilot, right, all of them have aspirations. Some of them are starting off trying because they know that this is something that their friends or people in their rental flats have tried before and they are in a better situation now. Some others might have already tried it. They might have gone for courses already at that stage, maybe started off home-based business, might be already doing their homework in attending driving school and stuff like that, right? But if we believe that they have aspirations, then what is the limitation? Why have they not pursued? Do all families have the will, right? The motivation to do that? In the 7 families that we've seen, yes, they do have, they really are inspired. Some of them have already done their homework. They already set up their home-based business. They're already starting to sell and stuff like that, right? But the crux of the matter is the opportunity cost, right? That's the issue, and the resources. So when we're talking about low-income families, they have high bandwidth tax. They are single parents who may be taking care of their children all alone. They might have elderly families, elderly parents who are relying on them for caregiving as well, right? So if you are attending a course, or if you are going for a side income, what's the opportunity cost on there? Spending less time with your family, not caring for your kids so much, or your elderly parents. These are opportunity costs that already in a family that is so stretched might be hard for them to lose out, right? So what EFI offers is an investment in these families, and that acts as a catalyst. So the 3-pronged approach, basically the assess grants and opportunities given to the families, the asset building through savings matching, and also most importantly, the group meetings, right? The families, their journey together is important and acts as a catalyst. There's also accountability of the families through progress tracking. So families are every month, at the end of every meeting, they actually submit their progress on how they have already reached a certain milestone for the month. And we also incentivize families for their time and their effort in doing the progress, submitting their progress trackers, and also attending the group meetings. All these kind of culminates into families being a bit more motivated, encouraged to pursue their dreams and aspirations, which are namely from the 7 families developing their home-based businesses, either upgrading their skills by attending courses, or even online courses or in-person courses. Some of them said that, having debt and arrears actually kind of blocks me from thinking about my aspirations. So I want to decrease my debts and arrears so that I have more time on my hand and more capacity for me to think about what I want to do and really be more like pursue those aspirations. One of them said that from a rental flat transiting to a new flat is something that is really a happy moment, a really great milestone. So I want to pursue that goal first and then focus on the rest later on. These are all from just the 7 families. So the limit to which the aspirations can look like it's endless, right? So there are a lot of other possibilities. But what would all these lead to? It leads to a short-term outcome within 6 months of families increasing their net economic value, which is an increase in their assets, their income, and a decrease in their liabilities, their debts and arrears. And also a transformative shift in their mindset. So more families are more feel more confident, feel more disciplined to work on their goals. And obviously with the group meetings and meeting external external partners or mentors or coaches, right? There's also increase in social capital from these families. This is just the foundation, right? So within 6 months to say that families would break out of poverty is nearly impossible. So all this acts as a foundation towards a greater goal. So what you see in the long term is that families who start off with smaller scale aspirations actually grow to a bigger scale one. Families might be saying that I want to do just home-based business, but maybe later on might say that home-based business is just a means to an end. Maybe I want to get a full-time job. I want to earn higher from my family, or I want to scale up my home-based business to look like something else. I want to add on something else. So it can be, again, something more long-term, more greater in scale, and also towards improving their quality of life. So monetary income generation is not the only thing, but also well-being of the families through the foundation that we built also can lead to that outcome. So all this is based on the new social contract, based on trust, autonomy, and accountability, which we will talk more about later. But in theory, this is how it looks like. But in practice, it's better to hear from someone who has journeyed through EFI. So for that, we will call upon Anna. Yeah, Anna. This one. Right on side. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we'll have a dialogue, so it's more comfortable. I'm getting too nervous here up here. So basically, Anna has been part of EFI pilot, but also contributing to EFI still in many different ways. So later we'll explore more about that. But just maybe for the audience here, who are you and how do you get to know about EFI?
Hey, hi everybody, I'm Anna. I'm a single parent of 4, and then currently working as I have a full-time job as admin assistant. So how I get to know EFI is when Adriana, Pell, and Sonia they are into this competition, and then they was introing me and sharing the idea, everything to me. That is how I get to know.
Yeah. So I think all of us are maybe quite curious to find out, when Anna joined EFI, what were some of her aspirations, her goals, and what were you looking forward to doing when you were part of EFI?
Okay, guys, I got script. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. Okay, so at first my goal was to bring back my home-based business, which is DIY accessories like change, bracelet, etc. So
You have some here, so I'm just gonna jiggle it a bit. This is something that Anna does.
okay, then okay, can you hear me?
Can.
Okay, test. Can you hear me?
Can online audience hear us? Can the online audience hear Anna? If yes, can put a thumbs up.
Okay, can like that can. Now can still soft. Like that? Can you hear? Okay, can. So
Yeah, what was your goal when you first started EFI? You're
Yeah.
talking about your home-based business.
yeah, at first my goal was to bring back my home-based business, which is a DIY accessories, which is my interest lah. Then I actually started it about 2-3 years ago during COVID. Then after I stopped due to the sales is not so good and also my work commitment. And then when the program intro to me, I thought it can help me with the business. I can use the cash grant to purchase nicer packaging and materials so that I can make my products more attractive. And then the saving matching to help me to save up more for rainy days. However, my goal changed along the way because after I joined the program in October last year, about 1 or 2 months later, I got notified from HDB for key collection. Previously it's in a rental flat. So I got my purchase flat.
Congrats.
So the key collection is about last year, November to December. So my goal from home-based business shift to housing. And who knows, followed by being a grandma in September. So all this happened just within that short 1 year. Therefore, I prioritize my family situation first. And but after all, I will still go back to my home-based business because I find that it's a way for me to generate more incomes in the future.
So I'm hearing is that your goal started off with home-based business, but life doesn't wait for anyone, it shifts. And with that also you adapted and you shifted your goals according to what your life circumstances were. So I was wondering also, how did EFI actually contribute towards your new goal of moving to housing home stability, is it?
I can say that having EFI journeying with me is a great experience. First of all, I'm able to gain a group of friends and form a support group within them. I remember there was once I was very stressed over my house and the home-based business. A group member advised me to take things at one time, don't push myself too much and priority the things first. And then and focus on my goal and achieve it. So this made me realize my setback and progress positively. Second, I managed to use some of the cash fund that was provided to get the necessity for my house. I'm really grateful that the team has been very patient and supportive for me changing my goal setting and home-based business to housing. This flexibility is crucial as life not always turn out as what we want.
That's not the end. I have two more questions. Yeah, so I'm hearing that the group element of having peers to support and like sort of like also lend in when you have your challenges, dilemmas, you know, they kind of support you, encourage you and stuff like that is important, right? I'm just also wondering, how is EFI different from other programs out there? What was interesting about it?
Oh, mine is completely different. Because many of the program out there is like, you know, they give you something and you got to give back them something. I mean, you got to produce and give back them something. So so as for EFI, they actually allow us to make our own decision. We plan, we decide, and we even facilitate the group meeting. So it's just like we are the boss lah. They are just like, you know. So
Yeah, the workers.
so because I think they understand that, they believe that what we want, that we know that what we want. So then, yeah, okay. So hence it motivates me to strive and even more cause that is what I wanted. They also involve us with selection of new batch of participants. I get to like involved with the interviews, then the group meetup, the everything, and then also come up with certain criteria for the selection of new batch. So I deeply appreciate that EFI trust and support me as I consider the group of people that fall in between the gaps. Due to my income, I'm not qualified for most of the program available out there. With this support, encourage and motivate me even further. With the cash grant and saving, it not just helping me financially, it actually boosts my confidence, and most importantly is to allow me to believe in myself.
Yeah, we believe in you, Anna. I think, Anna, I also wanted to appreciate the EFI alumni because I think my learning is that the EFI members actually don't see them as just program receivers. They actually invested in other families, and when we concluded the 6 months journey with them, right, they said that, hey, you know, what are some ways that I can help out the new batch? And they were very willing to get their hands dirty and say that, you know, we will come kind of come for the meetings, and we encourage and we share our stories as inspirations to the new families as well. So I thought that was very encouraging for me. But you know, throughout all this, we've learned a lot from the EFI group. But what are some of your learnings? What have you learned?
Confident, I can say, like I dare to stand up here. Okay, I managed to gain more confidence as time passed. Having a group of team members around and the chance to plan and co-facilitate the team is also a key factor. So without all this trust and support, I guess I will not come so far. Furthermore, I feel that when people invest and trust and believe me, the more I have to prove people that I can make it and don't disappoint them. So
Thank you. Okay, lastly, I think we all want to hear also, what are your hopes and dreams for EFI?
my hope is EFI to continue to, you know, to spread out to more people, family out there, and then to benefit more of them, so that yeah, everything can be better.
Any last words? No? Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Anna. Oh, suddenly I'm all alone up here. Doesn't feel so good. But yeah, so Anna is just one of the 7 families who has journeyed with us. For collectively, we've heard from her, you know, how EFI has benefited her and the impact it has given. So confidence, increased confidence, goals might have shifted, but still working on the goals and aspirations for the longer term. And the peer networks are a really important source of support for her. But collectively, what is the impact that we've seen out of all the 7 families is that 21% of them actually saw an increase. Actually, there were 21% of the increase in the monthly income of 3 families that we had journeyed with. The debts and arrears that families had started off with actually were all cleared at the end of 6 months. And then there was also an increase in their savings. This is also because of the matching grant that was given for the savings. But on average, each family actually saved up to about 2,000-ish in their bank account at the end. And this was very encouraging for the families. And later we will share a bit of the quotes that families had shared with us. The impact is not just about the numbers, about net economic value in decreasing their liabilities and increasing their assets, but also in the behavioral and mindset shifts that we've seen through our qualitative data analysis. So 100% of the families saw themselves, just like Anna just now, right? Saw themselves as more than just recipients of services, but also as contributors. They wanted to do more. They wanted to contribute not to just their own goals, but the goals of the families who were in the group. They shifted towards just thinking about the here and now to more future-oriented thinking, And this is also because the group shared, like, hey, this is what I want to do 1 year from now. This is why I want to see myself and my family 5 years from now. I want to own a flat, etc., etc. And this really motivates and encourages them to also come along this journey. They felt trusted and autonomous, that ultimately leads to them being more empowered to increase their net economic value. So all of them felt that the relationship they had with each other and also the EFI team was at equal standing. They felt that they could make the decisions for themselves because we valued them and we saw them as experts of their lives. And this actually motivated them to stay on and do what they felt was best for their life, for their families. 86% of them through that felt it increased confidence in achieving their goals and also increased discipline. So it wasn't like, hey, I want to give up, after a while. It felt that they have to be accountable to the group also because everyone is like kind of in it together. And if you were to give up, right, I say, that they can do it, why I cannot do it and stuff like that, right? So that was the things that we saw. In terms of what they have shared, mindset shift, one of them actually said that I learned to have a bank account just for savings and also how to manage my finances in an orderly manner and be more organized. So it's actually a very small shift, right? Opening up a bank account is nothing new or very hard to do. But families felt that just this one step actually helped them to be disciplined in saving up. And sometimes one of the families also shared that, sometimes I just put the money aside, I don't think about it. After 6 months, wow, I got quite a significant amount that I can continue on the goals that I have. In terms of what's different about EFI is that one of them said that if I do the home-based business myself, it will be just like last time. I feel that I won't be accomplishing much. I feel that with EFI's trust and support and its members and partners, I feel more supported and encouraged. So you can see that the group element and also EFI and its partners actually contributed a lot to the family staying on the journey. And sometimes you are trudging along, but you don't realize that actually in the last 6 months I've progressed so much. And it's good to every time do that check-in, right? And kind of realize that actually you have done a lot. And hearing from a practitioner might not do so much, but hearing it from someone who is on this journey together, who has a relationship with you, means a lot to these families. The other thing that we've seen a lot in the families is increased confidence. So one of them shared that knowledge, discipline, and knowing that even if you do not have money, you can still start small, start saving. And even if the grants are small, the $1,500 may not be enough for some families. They want to do something with it. And you can start small, it's okay, as long as you start, and if someone else is doing it, why not me? That kind of a mentality that families have. So you can see that throughout all this, there has been a lot of reflection and learning. Let me sip water. Damn. Okay, so what are some of our learnings that we've gleaned from the 6 months of the pilot? We've realized that, and a lot of people have asked us this question, right? $1,500, is it enough or not? Maybe not, but we felt that $1,500 is a good start for families. Moving forward, what we want to do is also have a top-up grant for families who who want to do something more than the $1,500. So for example, if there are a group of families who are doing home-based business, they want to set up a booth and do something together where they increase their income, we might want to fund that. maybe not all 100%, but a bit of that, because we feel that families are motivated and they maybe just need a bit more help and support and resources for that. So that's something that we look forward to doing. Families in the first batch also have given us feedback to say that, sometimes giving us $1,500, we also like a bit scared. I don't know what to do with the money. So maybe breaking up in tranches would help also, right? Maybe it's $500 every 2 months, $750, half a month, in 3 months and stuff like that. So that will help. Linking them up with external support systems or resources also helps. So in the 7 families, obviously, they do have resources, but the resources may be limited also, right? So linking them up with maybe some know-how, some skills from external parties actually helps them to stay on and achieve their goals even better. There's no one-size-fits-all programmatic approach. So as Anna said, the goals do shift, and we need to be highly adaptable to those shifts, as long as those shifts towards income potential increase in their net economic value. So we are okay with that. We want to encourage that. We don't want to see families being stuck or being forceful on families to say that this is what you signed up on, agreed on, you need to stick to that. It is not that kind of approach. The other thing is also higher engagement is something that is useful, and families felt that it is something that they wanna see more. So a lot of times the families do meet on a monthly basis, but maybe meeting up with the EFI team is also something that they feel was helpful, because the individual check-ins is actually something where we learn from the families, and the families also can feedback and say that these are resources that I need particularly for my own goals. There's also another thing about growing a community of support that encourages the family. So all these families have genuine care and concern for each other, and they generally also push each other and nudge each other to stay on this journey, right? So the new batch of EFI that we see might be limited to maybe 4 to 6 families in one group, but we also see interconnectedness and dependency within the groups also. So there's more resources and shared amongst the families. And what we are trying to also experiment around is that maybe home-based business can be one group, and then they might be in the same goals and same journey, right? So they got more things to talk about, more discussion and more resources to help each other. So those are some difference in the iterations that we see. And this is all from the learnings that we've gathered. But the real challenge is, how do we implement EFI as practitioners, right? So this is actually my dear friend Sonia's bit, but I'm tasked to do that. And so I will tap on my social work expertise. I'm an ex-social worker who was doing casework. So I'll speak from that perspective, right? So what we've learned is that, so starting off with social work as a career, right? I think the dreams and aspirations are not very different from the families. We all dream or want to see the families do better. Families have the same aspirations, so they want to do better for themselves. And when I joined social work, it was me as an enabler, supporter for the families to, live their dreams. But that's somewhat difficult. I think a lot of social workers will testify to that, right? So a lot of times, with the myriad of issues and complex needs of families, the luxury of time is not with us. We are stuck, firefighting behind our desk, typing out case reports, etc., right? Which is quite draining and highly, I don't want to be politically correct also. Kind of exhausting at times. So with that also, there's very limited bandwidth on our end to even talk to families about their goals and aspirations. So a lot of times it's about just dealing with the here and now, which can be kind of discouraging for families also. Families see us maybe more of the control function, coming in to say that you can do this, you cannot do that and stuff like that. So we are moving from, maybe I felt myself moving from an enabler to someone who plays the control policing kind of role for families, which is not something that I wanted to do. But with EFI, right, I saw an alternative approach. So the families that we've worked with always the first conversations are about aspirations. What are your goals? What you want to do for yourself? What are things that you've already tried? Let's learn from you what actually would help your family. And then let's see how EFI can support that. So this shift, right, actually like kind of helps to see families in a different light and for them to also see us differently. And this is actually very much life-giving, life-enriching conversations that we have with the families. And for me as a practitioner, right, that has helped a lot to see myself detached from my role in the FSC to something that is different and that is more encouraging and motivating for myself individually. So I give you an example of how, the families, because we believe that families are the experts and they have to be given a choice, right? How this transpired in real life, right? So one of the examples is that we said that families were given $25 for their progress reports that they submit. So every progress report to value the time, the families would be given an incentive of $25. But what happens typically is that sometimes families are very busy, bogged up with other things, they forget. And this is what happened for a couple of families, right? They forgot to submit their progress report. And typically as a social worker, right, on one hand, I'll be like, hey, cannot. Families already agreed, to do this. Then you'll be very unfair for the other families, so we shouldn't give them the $25. But on the other side, you can empathize, very busy, caregiving, sometimes forget, and EFI is new concept and stuff like that. So maybe they cannot meet the deadline and stuff like that, right? So we maybe can extend. So this dilemma, we went back to the team and then we had a discussion. Then we were like fixing ourselves to come out with a decision. Then we were like, okay, so maybe this is something that we should go back to the families to ask the families, what do you think, right? So that's what we did. So we went back to the group and we said that, there's this problem. What do you think about it? And the families, to our surprise, didn't even talk about the problem. They just came up with a solution. So they said that, like maybe next time when I submit, what I'll do is that we have a group chat. So I'll put down my name and the date that I submitted. And then the other families will also see the group chat and then they will also put down their names and the date they submitted the progress report. So this continued on, and surprisingly, none of the families actually defaulted from then on. So all the families actually submitted their progress reports on time. And this is a solution that families entirely came up by themselves. And I think if we were to decide for ourselves, we might not come up with a solution. So trust, autonomy, and accountability, it's all there. It's decided by the families. They do it themselves. So this kind of relocation of power, right, is actually quite difficult for me because in social work, you wear on the hat of, like you have responsibility for the families. You feel that you have to fix the problems that families have. And the narrative also continues because families who come for services and institutions, sometimes they see themselves as less off. But when we change the narrative and we redistribute the power, we see them differently, and they also tend to see us differently as well, right? And that's something that I think is quite powerful. Easier said than done, obviously, but I think this 6-month journey has also changed how I look at families and how I feel that I want to continue working with families as well. So yeah, time's up. Thank you. With some guidance, I think we can, and a lot of trust, I think we can be able to see families thrive even more. And with that said, wrap up. Okay.
This was what EFI has done. So we also received question about, what has EFI done from May 2023 to up until now. So again, like Pel said, we deferred a lot of the decision making to the families because we see them as equal partners, and we want to continue actually tapping on the wisdom and the lived experience of the EFI alumni and families. And so what we did was, for the future families who are on board as potential applicants, together with the EFI alumni, we co-created the criteria. So if more families were to come on board, what are actually some of the criteria that you would look out for? And you will be surprised actually the EFI alumni are even more stricter than us. Like stricter, no. The families must be ready, must have done their research beforehand about their goals. And these are the families that we actually wanna support and help. So they co-created the criteria together with us. And they're also on the interview panel and selection committee. So in our interview chats with families, the EFI alumni are also part of it because they also share about their experience and they can also give some of their perspectives. And yeah, we also have the next iteration with 22 families. So we've already started in October. So we've started for the next 6 months, we'll be joining the families on their goals. And yeah, and another one is also EFI alumni facilitating and co-facilitating the peer networks instead of just us. Some of them have come forward and stepped up as the facilitators for the families to inspire them to achieve their goals. Yeah. Again, EFI, we don't see EFI as an end in itself, but a means to a greater end. We believe that for an innovation such as EFI to survive, we need to mobilize an ecosystem of support as a movement towards a more dignified and developmental approach. So the first thing we want to do is to encourage and inspire and enable SSAs to implement initiatives similar to EFI. And so what we'll be doing, and Pel will be sharing later, is that we want to share some of our funding with some social service agencies to implement EFI or something similar. And we also want to expand EFI not only to grants, but also scholarships for adult learners. So some families, because they want to pursue their formal qualifications because it gives them a greater potential and prospect for income generation, we want to look at whether we can also sponsor studies for formal qualifications and also give a stipend so that there's no opportunity cost if they go to study and having to bring food on the table for their families. And this is what we've done. Also, we've done EFI families alumni to be on the selection or organizing committee. In terms of practice-wise, we also want to, you can't see there, we want to enable social service professionals to have more developmental conversations on aspirations with lower income families. Yeah, and we also have not a toolkit but we have a list of questions, the questions that we have to ask these families to elicit their aspirations and what are the action steps they want to take towards their goals. Again, we want to work with various partners from all levels, be it government or corporate, government, Comlink Plus, right, coming up. So we want to also work together to co-create opportunities for lower income families. Yeah, so Pel will be sharing what will happen next.
Okay, I think time's up already. So just scan the QR code and find out for yourself. But basically, what I think we want to shout out and call out for is all the social service agencies who are here, who are not here. If you feel excited, if you want to implement EFI, we are blessed with some grant money and we want to share that to enable people to also prototype it. We are shouting out to government agencies, social service agencies to also come and implement similar approach. Potential funders, if you want to learn alongside with families, journey with them and see success in your own eyes, right? Through your own eyes, come and journey with us as well. And corporate sector, if you're excited about also matching your resources to the families and also learning alongside with the families, please do join in and it's a call to action. So we hope that, it's more action and implementation rather than dialogue and talk. Yeah. So that's about it. We'll be very excited to also share with you guys that we have our new website. So you can find us on all these social media platforms. If you want to reach out to us, you can do that. Or later on, you can hang on and also get our numbers, I guess. That's it. Q&A. Thank you so much.
Thank you. May I invite the speakers to stay on stage and Dr. Ong up on stage to start the Q&A.
Testing. Can you guys hear me? Zoom? Okay, so those of you on Zoom or here, we have way more questions on Poll Everywhere that we can get to. So I suggest what you can do is maybe especially for those who just posted questions, take a minute or two to vote on the later questions, because I do think some of the later questions are pretty good, right? So maybe we can do that and then we can be a little more democratic in terms of the questions that you're interested in. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing your experience. We have a ton of questions for you. I'll try to sort of like bundle them as we go along. So the first one is you stated your criteria of families having goals and a readiness to work on these goals. So do you have any insights in families that did not meet those criteria? Like, did you encounter families who did not have goals or did not, formulate or articulate their goals, or they were assessed not to be ready to work on those goals?
Yeah, so we did. Unfortunately, we did. But I think we have to be realistic in how we select the families as well, right? Because obviously the funding is not infinite. So we want to really work with families who are motivated, who are ready. So how we assess that is through the help of our EFI alumni, had a very loose structured way and through very much in-depth kind of conversations with the families, ask them, like, what are your goals? In the past 2 to 3 months, how have you worked on your goals? Have you done some research about it? So if the family says that, like, I want to do home-based business, have you actually tested out the market? Have you tried it out? Have you started baking and stuff like that, right? So to see that the families have really tried it and really need a bit of the support or resources to help them to leapfrog them to a better situation. So it's basically that the families who maybe are still testing it out and still figuring things out, we are obviously very encouraged that they have approached us, and we feel that maybe in the later stages we can reconsider them, and that's what we've told them, right? So in the next 6 months, maybe reevaluate and see whether you can still work on the goals that you have, and then come back to us after that. And then we reassess, and then we'll see at a point in time whether we can accept your application. With that said, also families who have journeyed in the 6 months, they can still reapply, because 6 months is too short of a time for families to see that change also, right? So we feel that families can reapply if their goals are still something that they want to work on, and there's no limitation to that also.
Okay, great. So there's actually a lot of questions about goals, but I think it sounds like you guys are also in some ways free consulting services, right? Okay, so the other big questions that are coming up are about how you measure the impact. So you shared some things about the outcomes, right? Like families see themselves as contributors, mindset and behavioral shifts. Can you say something about how you measure, for example, families seeing themselves as contributors? How do you measure mindset shifts? How do you measure behavioral shifts?
So it's for the more intangible, right? Confidence. And yeah, so we do a couple. So firstly, there's I think a few data points that we look at to gauge that. First is self-reported by the families. Do the families themselves feel more confident to work on, other goals in the future? Do they feel that they are more confident to step up to be contributors to facilitate? And I think another one is also the observation that we've observed from the families. So observation is also a data point. So from the start, when the families come in, has there also been a change, over these past 6 months? So we, I think, triangulate all these data points, and that also informs the data where we, measure the intangibles, the more intangible outcomes. Yeah.
Okay, great. And then there are questions about the long-term evaluation because it's 6 months, right? Do you guys have any plans for longitudinal follow-ups after a year, 5 years, 10 years?
Yes, I think this is also one thing that currently the team is looking into. We're looking at impact evaluation, and also tracking for the families, like post after 6 months, right? And then after that 3 months, and then 6 months, and 9 months, and 1 year, and what changes have EFI have been able to make in this family's life. So, but I think right now we are also still at a juncture where we're looking out for maybe potential evaluators who can also support us with this. And yeah, if anyone's happy to offer their services, or free services, we are very happy to work with you to evaluate the impact of EFI longitudinally, because I think it's important to also measure that and understand how EFI's work help families to propel and springboard them towards greater goals that they have in their lives.
So is there any way of ensuring sustainability and support since, as you mentioned earlier, 6 months, right? And you say that the participants are welcome to reapply, right? So I think you had 7 to begin with and then 22 in the cycle. How many of the 22 are returnees?
We had 2 returnees. Yeah, the rest
And-
were all new applications.
Okay. And it sounds to me from what you were saying, it goes beyond just the funding. It's also about building social support networks. So do you have any plans along those lines?
Yeah, I think okay. I feel that Anna is the best person to answer this because you're talking about after 6 months and she is here as a contributor after 6 months, right? She's not part of the new EFI iteration. So I think if she is comfortable, I think I'll leave it to her to share. But I also want to add on that yeah, after 6 months, I think the relationship doesn't just end there. And I think for the 7 families, one of them actually got full-time job, so she cannot continue on meeting with the other families. So the one actually 2 of them got full-time job, yeah. And then so five of the rest, even though some of them have already got full-time job and stuff like that, they felt that the kinship and relationships matter to them, and there's so much bond that they have created. They still continued on to keep in touch and meet up regularly. And I'm also every time perplexed by why they want to meet up and hang out and stuff like that. So I don't know whether Anna want to share a bit more about the group and why you all still meet up.
Why? I think it's the relationship that we built through during that 6 months. I think it's quite how to say that, it's very encouraging, and then when you're not we don't know each other till we get to know, like we can talk and we have fun, we share our success, we share our bad times, etc. So then I find it's very exciting. So I eventually I love meeting up with them.
That sounds a bit confused. Okay, so you know who not to tap on. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so I think, I mean, there's quite a few comments coming through about the peer support and accountability and influence, right? You mentioned that a couple of people got full-time jobs and then they dropped out or they stopped meeting up, or so, but that's considered like a success in some way because they achieved their goals.
Yeah, I think we don't have like a hard and fast rule about you have to meet up after EFI, right? We leave it up to the families, and the families have to decide on their own whether they want to continue on having this relationship and maintaining it or not. But that probably is one of the reasons. I don't know what other reasons there are, maybe for the other 2 that haven't been meeting up. But with that said, also we are still in touch with them. They are still our friends, I think I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. So there is a question about whether any participants dropped out due to multiple stressors.
Out of the 7 from the pilot, all stayed throughout the 6 months. I think I would want to also acknowledge that there have been issues that they will be battling with. So I think EFI in the ecosystem, we do have a place in it, right? But also, some of them are known to the FSCs, the other SSAs, and I think they were working on the other issues with those service providers, and therefore EFI was focused a lot more on investing in the goals and aspirations of families, which may be something that is not looked at by the other SSAs, maybe.
So now quite a number of participants are concerned about the families who may not have fully formed goals or aspirations. So earlier you talked about that, right? Like how you consult them, not consult, but like you talk to them, and then if they're deemed not to meet the requirement, they're encouraged to reapply in a few months, right? Do you have more to say about these families who may not know what their goals are because they don't have the time or the money or the social networks?
To be honest, we also don't have all the answers. So which is why I think what we want to do is that EFI is not sustainable on its own. I think what we want to do is also tap on the wisdom of other social service practitioners to also co-create this together with us. So how can we also support families in crafting the goals even in the first place? How do we get them thinking about, hey, actually this is something that I might want to work on. Okay, then maybe, you know, before EFI, maybe can also other social service practitioners work with the families closely to try to craft and formulate these goals and get the families to start thinking about it. Yeah, so I think how EFI is designed is that social service agencies will look at the more needs, basic needs, and EFI will be the more aspirational developmental needs. So I think both has to go hand in hand together. We have to look at the basic needs, but at the same time, look at what aspirational, I think it's really just to relieve the scarcity mindset. I think it's really to let the families understand that actually if you think about the goals and you have the goals, we can actually work with you to support this. But I think it's just about how do we get from them having no goals to starting to think about the goals to starting to craft about the goals. Yeah, maybe Anna also, do you have any insights? Because I mean, like you know, the goals, how do you even come up with the goals, and whether you have any tips or any insights about this? Oh, okay, she haven't processed. Okay, yeah, it's okay. I don't force Anna to share. Yeah, but that's long and short. That's,
Okay, yeah. So it does sound like you're basically at that juncture where you want them to go, or you want to support them in going beyond surviving to thriving, right? Like more aspirational goals. And alongside that, so one question is, what do you think is needed to help practitioners or policymakers shift their mindset, right, from these basic needs to and shift their approach in working with low income families? Because you guys mentioned the autonomy and the partnership aspect. So what do you think, I guess, is a more big picture question, right, in terms of the policymaker, social worker sphere?
So yeah, so actually even when we were doing the pilot, right, there was a lot of shift internally that we had to do. There was a lot of discomfort because a lot of control was lost, and we had to share power with the family. We sharing power with the families. So it's a very different way of thinking and mindset shift, which was even also challenging for us, that we had to unpack and sit and reflect together. It's like, okay, why are we feeling this way? You know, maybe we should, you know, like when we defer decision making to the family, you know, are we okay to do this? And then I think we also had that support, a reflective support, where we reflected on our own practices, and being okay to try out and also do that. Which is why also we had that the leap, where we want everyone to come together, and also have these together, reflective practice together with us. And because what's different about this leap is that the EFI alumni and families will also be part of this process, and they will also tell us what we need to look out for, also to shift, and also to help us shift the mindset and unpack the learnings together as practitioners. Yeah. So really, if you're interested, join us so that we can also have this reflective practice, so we can start making the shift towards going beyond basic needs, and just, I mean, really look at the aspirations of the families. Yeah.
So do you guys have any questions, those who are in the audience? Because you get priority, right? Like there's a whole like long list of, I can't even count, like probably like 50 questions here. But if you guys have questions, you're welcome to step up. And then now I've scared 2 people. They've decided to run off.
They have
Just
stepped
kidding.
up and stepped out.
Yes, please. The mic is yours.
Joseph, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Joseph from the LIP Foundation. Just a quick question. I may have missed it, but maybe you can name one, if more, better, challenges you faced during this pilot.
Yeah. Challenges. I think fully trusting the families is a mindset shift on my part. A lot of times I feel that I have to check in the families. Hey, when are you guys meeting? The deadline's around the corner. Are you guys going to submit your progress report? Hey, the progress doesn't seem to be moving. How, you know, that kind of stuff, right? So it is really relocating the power and trusting that the families know, and the families have to exercising flexibility and moving along with the family's pace a bit as well. Yeah, and not looking at just 6 months as the end. I think we need to kind of elongate the trajectory for these families as well, and not be very fixated in saying that you have to achieve this by this date and stuff like that, right? That's very stifling, I feel. And I think so one of the stories the family had shared with me that was quite stuck with me was that she felt she recounted a time when she went to the SSA and she's moving from a rental flat to a purchase flat. She's doing a bit better, you know, middle income and stuff like that. But you know, with 6 or 7 kids, still PCI quite low. But when she went in and she asked, you know, like said that I want to do my home-based business, I wanted to like do a bit more and earn a bit more and stuff like that. What kind of help can I receive? But the professional actually told her that actually you're not needy enough. You don't have the issues that we are looking at, you know, for you to qualify for assistance. So that was actually quite sad for her. And she felt that EFI was very different in that manner. We actually focused on the goals that she has and actually something that she felt that something she can look forward to, and not just about, you know, like how do I keep my family alive or surviving. So that stuck with me. I think, yeah, I feel that EFI as an alternative approach, I feel that there's more challenges working in the social work than in the EFI, I feel. Yeah.
No, I think just to add on to Pel's points, I think whenever we think about, hey, how come the progress not moving? How come this is not happening? Right? Whenever we have these thoughts, right, we always like, okay, we need to quickly like catch ourselves. So are we thinking using the typical social service, I need to control this, or are we moving from the EFI approach where we are deferring a lot of the autonomy and decision making to the families? So I think a question that we have is that can we ask the families about this? Can we consult the families about this decision? So I think that's always a question that I think it's about keeping us in check, because sometimes it's just so easy to switch back to like the typical, like, oh, I need to have full control over this, like all these outcomes must happen. So that was, I think, just to add on to his point, I think having a check is important, and having a group of people to help you check is also important, because sometimes it might be your blind spot, because it's just so easy to revert back to the normal mode. Yeah.
Okay, so it seems like in Singapore, not just the social workers, like all of us here are like control freaks, right? We like to control it. Do you guys have any other questions? You came all the way here, so the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you so much for this sharing. I'm Eve. I'm with Beyond Social Services. We also use kind of like an asset-based community development approach. One of the biggest issues we have, I think, our resources are probably not as vast as you guys at the moment, but we have a problem with members' retentions. Like we have sort of like a mutual aid circle. Maybe we started out with maybe 20 members, but by the end of it will be probably just 5 members. Right. We also offer stipend, and we also offer kind of like various resources for members to develop their skills, sort of try to expand their capacity and things like that. But do you guys find that, I think it's quite amazing. You guys have been working with 7 families, and through the 6 months that you haven't been able to retain them. So I was just wondering if you found something that was really useful in engaging the members, engaging the families. What do you see as sources of motivations that actually kept the families going?
To me, right, I think perhaps because the pilot group was small, so it's only 7 of us, and then eventually most of us had the same mindset, and the goal is somewhere similar, so we can click along well. So I was like thinking, then for the new batch, the second batch is bigger, 22. So this 22, we actually we break them up into a smaller group, so that I think, but with a smaller group, it's easier for them to click. So like bigger group, you have a lot more different thinking or mindset, etc. So then the group is, they decide which group they wanted. Like they will break into like, okay, this group is interest of home-based business, driving, etc. So they select the group themselves. So it will. So for myself as a participant, I think, to me, if I join in the program, I prefer the program that I have interest in, so that it will motivate me to actually go back, join the program. If I find that the program A, actually at first I got interest, but then in the end, the program is actually not what I wanted, So I will not, like for example, if EFI continues to like what they say, I follow, I will not come back to, yeah. So yeah.
Just want to add on to the point. So families have a say in how they want to shape the groups also. So I think that was something critical. The other thing is having fun. I think a lot of times, like with programs, right? Like you come there, you come and report, and you have like conversations and stuff like that. Kind of boring. So one of the previous alumni members with the batch said that, hey, why not we have a meeting in my house and have steamboat together? And we were like, okay, that sounds cool. And we still managed to achieve the outcomes, right? Like families checked in on each other, updated their progress and stuff like that. But over a meal, they brought their own like families, their kids along and stuff like that. And that also kind of reinforces this relationship building component. And also the accountability. I felt that the 7 families were very accountable to each other's progress. So I remember one of the members were like, hey, I went for a baking course already, very happy. Then he said, hey, until now haven't baked yet. Hari Raya coming, you bake me a cake. I don't care. I will pay you. And then she did bake a cake, and then she brought it for the next group meeting, and we all tried it, and we didn't pay her. Because she was kind enough not to accept our money, but yeah, that is I think showing how, you know, that the relationship is and trust is so strong that they can challenge each other and nudge each other along.
Yeah, so I think you guys are not giving enough credit to a critical aspect of your success, right? Which is not just about the design of the program, but treating humans as humans and giving them the time and, you know, to just grow. And I think a lot of this was maybe the screening process where you identified people who knew what they wanted and they were going to stick to it, right? And then also giving them the time and space to grow. So I think we're almost out of time. Anyone else in the audience want to say something? You're welcome to. I do have just one question before the gentleman comes up, which is I think your dream for this was realized when you won the Dreams Asia Breakthrough competition. There was like $25,000 seed money for this pilot, and that was like the 7+22 families, or just the 7 families? Just the 7 families. So people are interested in the financial sustainability and the long-term plans.
So again, like EFI, again, like as a standalone, I don't think we are sustainable. I'm not sustainable. We can't be sustainable alone. So that's why we want to actually work with different social service agencies. So it's not just scaling up, it's scaling out. So we want to give you a bit, share the funding with social service agencies to prototype EFI. And then once you see and experience the results, we hope that you can also use your setup to ask for more funding to prototype and scale up EFI even further. Yeah, so that's our strategy to ensure, like, I think it's not just about EFI as an own organization, but also the shift that we want to see in the sector as a whole. So even if there comes point in time where the sector has already been transformed and the EFI has already served its purpose, it could also be a sunset project, because our whole point is not to have all the credit. We actually want to share it with the sector. And if we can actually transform the sector to benefit more families in this way, I think we have served our purpose. That's our true success for us. Yeah, for EFI.
Thank you. Yeah, so it seems the goal is to plant little seeds and see change.
Like EFI, I mean, one of the participants, I can see like EFI, they try to go in our picture, you know, in what we go through. Then they will show us the way, not for us to listen to them, but they listen to us and guide us. Yeah, that's the difference.
So basically, they see you as the driver, right? And they're just like the consultant.
Show us to the right channel.
Yeah, the GPS.
Yeah.
And then, but so they're the GPS, right? But at the end of the day, the driver still makes the decision. It's up to you whether you listen to the GPS.
Yeah, because some of the community, they want us to listen to them. They don't want to hear from us. That's the difference for me lah. Then some more like feels like we have fun together, can talk very easily. Like there's no like barrier between them and us. Yeah, that's yeah.
Thank you for that. That was very informative, I think. Do you guys have any other questions? Yes.
Jim Ben from SSR. My question is that it seems that aspiration is the key word, right? Yeah. So how do you conceptualize and operationalize the concepts of aspiration? I mean, in other words, how do you define the concept of aspiration? Yeah. Then what are the indicators of this concept? Because these issues are related to measuring your outcomes. You also link to how do you conduct your program evaluation.
Okay, so I think we have a more academic question, which is asking about how do you operationalize or define aspirations, and how do you evaluate whether your program was successful?
I think that's a good question. I think like what Adriana was saying, we are still building up our evaluation framework. So based on the pilot, we just went along with thinking about net economic value as a measurement, right? So it's very, we intentionally also kept it easy because we didn't want it to be onerous for the families to report on the scale or index and do survey and stuff like that. That's just not something that I think families like to do often, right? Go and do a survey. So we kept it simple, and the families just had to report on how their aspirations leads toward them in generating more income or more assets, and also reducing their debts and arrears. So that's basically it, right? So on a monthly basis, families will say that I have generated this much income, and we see the income growing and their assets increasing in that manner, then we say, yes, good. But if we see that also the family's debts and arrears are also increasing, then double tick better, right? And this is only one sort of measurement, right? I think we also measured through discipline and confidence in attaining their aspirations. I think that was also critical in our how we measured success and families' aspirations. But in a nutshell, it's whether the aspirations families have actually leads them to achieving better net economic value, basically. Yeah. Anything to add?
I think on the question of aspirations, maybe not academic, I'm not mentioned academically, but I think what I want to also elicit is what does success look like for families? What does success means to them? Can we also give the room for families to define the success that they want for themselves, for their families? And I think we work on that premise. So I think for EFI, we always, I think we again defer to the families, because I think the families have, it's their life, it's the family's life, right? And I think that's what we want to do. We want to hear from the voice of the family. So what success means to them, rather than we imposing this is what you want it to achieve. So it has to make sense for the families as well. Yeah.
Great. So I think we do have a few participants here from your program. Yes,
we do have a few participants
So yeah,
and
thank you to the
alumni.
gentleman who joined us early and spoke up. But does anyone else want to share anything?
Oh, actually on Zoom also, we
on
also
Zoom,
have a few
okay.
participants on Zoom, because
Yeah.
you know they are busy with home-based
Yes, of
businesses, with
course, of
children.
course.
So they are also on the
Yeah.
Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think maybe there's a chance for you guys to talk to one another after that, and yeah, networking. So I think that's it. Thank you so much. And then Shihan is going to shoo us off the stage.
Okay. So give me a while to pull out the slides. Right. Yeah, thank you so much again, everyone, for joining us for our seminar today. So I'll just end off with a few closing announcements. So first, for everyone in this room, I greatly appreciate if you could scan this QR code for and provide feedback just for today's seminar, just a simple two questions. Yeah, and we also have received a question regarding the recording. So yeah, the recording will be shared within 2 weeks after this seminar. So everyone who registered will receive a follow-up email from me containing the link to the recording. Yeah. And yeah, okay. So I have one more slide. Yeah, so this is just a overview of the upcoming events by SSR in the first quarter of next year. So if you're not already on our mailing list, do feel free to also scan the QR code to join our mailing list to receive regular updates on our training workshops and events. Yep, so with that, let's give one more round of applause to the speakers. And thank you so much. Yeah, for our audience here, do feel free to stay back and mingle for a few more minutes. Yeah, thank you.